pissed in your cereal today. And I'm just like, I don't know, coach. I don't think nobody pissed in my cereal.
Chase kind of like bought me in my mask, and he kind of hit it, and I just lost my mind.
You just
started throwing punches and stuff, and
What's up, Falcons fans, and welcome back to the Friday Five. I'm your host, Will McFadden. I am joined, as always, by Tori McElhaney, and today we're going to go through a few mock drafts.
Yay!
It's free agency is kind of, well, I don't know if it's over and done with.
I also don't know if it's over and done with because there were two individuals that signed literally a couple hours before we started recording this, so who knows?
Yep, it is Thursday, March 26th, and yeah, the signings continue to happen. And you can actually hear on the back end of this episode one of those signings, Brian Robinson. Well, the other is a trade, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We had some news that happened over the weekend,
oh my gosh,
too.
You're so right. I forgot about that.
We got trades, we got signings, we got a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about. So, yeah, today the main part of our discussion is going to be going through some mock drafts as we get ready to kind of like turn the page to draft season. We're going to go through and just kind of see what the consensus has been, share a few thoughts. I've got 5 different topics that I wanted to kind of toss Tori's way to kind of kickstart this conversation. But yeah, let's go back to Sidney Brown. Over the weekend, the Falcons made a trade. I guess it was like Friday afternoon, right as I'm getting ready to close my laptop. And it's like, all right, here's the news. I was like, all right, let me fire this bad boy back up one more time. Just trying to watch some college basketball, like, got a life too. But, the news waits for nobody. And so the Falcons get Sidney Brown. They send a pair of draft picks to the Philadelphia Eagles. I've got it in front of me. Picks number 114 and 197 for Sidney Brown, and picks 122 and 215. So they basically just trade back a little bit in the 3rd and 6th rounds, and they pick up a safety who is a former 3rd-round pick. What do you think about the move?
I think it makes a lot of sense based on what Ian Cunningham has said the whole point of this early offseason has been, which is to elevate the floor of the roster. I think when you look at someone like Sidney Brown, he is an asset on special teams, and he has the experience of kind of being in that backup role for a safety. He can play in the box. He can kind of play deep safety. Like, I think that he has the versatility that you need in a good piece of depth. And I think we had a conversation with him, which you will catch that at the end of this episode, so stick around. I really enjoyed the conversation with him too. I
thought it was incredible.
Right. Like, I think that he has, I just loved his story, and we'll talk more about his story, but like, he's a twin. His twin brother plays for the Bengals, like what they overcame through their childhood. And like, I loved him as a person, like getting to know him as a person. So, and then that's not even talking about like the fact that I think he probably could have been a starter on a few different teams over the last couple of years. But the fact that he was with Philadelphia and how much they put into that Philly defense, I think kind of like he was one of those guys that kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit. And so I'm excited to see what he can do potentially within the depth that the Falcons are wanting to establish alongside Jesse Bates and Xavier Watts and someone like DeMarco Hellams.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the versatility on the back end to play multiple spots, as you mentioned. Really, I think he'll be a core special teams player for the Falcons here. But honestly, guys, stick around for the conversation, because if you don't leave this episode feeling like he is a new fan favorite and somebody you just want to root for, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't have words for you.
Yeah.
He was incredible. I left that recording and I was like, I want him to just be my new best friend.
Yeah.
He's so personable. Just one of the coolest guys. So yeah, Sidney Brown, welcome to Atlanta, and it's really awesome to have him here. And I like how you started that whole conversation with elevating the floor.
Yeah.
Because that is really, I think, the theme of this offseason for Atlanta. So yeah, we got those two conversations on the back end of this show. But there was one conversation that has just been sticking in my mind ever since it happened, and that was with Olamide Zaccheaus.
Okay.
Because we had to roll right through this part for time reasons.
Yeah.
But Did he say that he doesn't believe in space?
So I think that what he meant was that he doesn't, and I think he even said this, and I think it went in one ear and out the other, and then I went back and listened to it. I think he said, like, I don't think space is what we think it is.
Okay.
And that I can get on board with. I don't think we know.
Can you?
I don't think we know anything about space. It's not that
We know nothing about space?
I mean, we know.
Is that what you just said?
Maybe it's like a fraction of what space is, but I don't think that it's an infinite thing. We haven't found the end to it. So, like,
True.
Right?
Fair.
So I think that, no, we don't know everything there is to know about space. So
Do you think people have been to space?
Yes, I do think people.
Okay.
I believe in the moon landing.
We know it's cold.
We do know it's cold. We know that,
We know
no
it's a
atmosphere.
vacuum.
Right, yeah,
we
we
don't
know
know if it's a Hoover.
We
or
don't know.
If it's
a Dyson.
Yeah, exactly. But we know it's a vacuum.
Right, yeah. So in terms of space, it's like what he said about not believing in it and what he said about, like, I don't think space is what we think it is. Like, I think those are actually two separate thoughts.
It's true.
So I get one. I don't really get the other.
Would you go to outer space if you had the chance?
God, no. There's
No?
not a chance. So I hate space. Like, I hate it. It freaks me out.
Because it's so unknown.
It's so unknown. It makes me feel insignificant. Like, it makes my skin crawl a little bit. It makes my, like, teeth hurt, like, from the anxiety of space. I don't like space at all. I went and saw Project Hail Mary. Great movie. Go see it. But the whole time I was so anxious watching it because I was like, he's in space.
Is that? Oh, I thought that was the movie about Doug Flutie.
No.
Oh, okay. My bad.
No. Ryan Gosling, and I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to spoil it for people.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's a good movie. Go see it.
I am going to see it on Friday.
So no,
I'm very excited.
I don't like space. I would never go to space. I'm firmly planted here on Earth.
I feel the same way. I think space is sick, for the record, but, like, you've been next to me on a plane before.
That I have.
And, like, I get so stressed out on
You're
on planes.
stressed.
There's no way, if I could just magically teleport
Yeah.
up to space, or, like, just be sedated. If they put me under and then took me to space and brought me back before I woke up, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Will, you were in space," I would be like, "That's awesome. Thanks, guys. I
Yeah.
really appreciate
Or
that."
if I did what, like, Katy Perry did, where it's like they were up in space for 30 seconds and then came back down. It's like, all right, cool.
Yep, just a real quick pop in, pop out.
Yeah. It's like, I saw it.
Awesome. So yeah, that was, I thought, a really interesting response, and I had to circle back.
Yeah, I haven't stopped thinking about it since.
Cool. Well, one of the things that I have been thinking a lot about recently are the mock drafts, as I know you have as well, because when is your first mock draft
So
running?
it'll be running the 31st.
Okay.
And it'll be a top 50. So
So it'll
normally
be next Tuesday.
next Tuesday, I believe. Yeah. So as you all know, I've been doing these mock drafts for, a couple of years now. And without a first round draft pick, it's made a mock draft very difficult because it's like that's all it was. I would do a first round mock draft for 8 weeks leading up to the season. Well, now it's a bit different. So we're changing the formula a little bit. I'm going to do a top 50 coming up. And then I have some different ones that we'll be doing that I'm excited about in the next few weeks. I'm not going to tell you about it just yet because I want everybody to be surprised, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But the first one coming out Tuesday, the 31st.
All right. Yeah. So everybody get ready for that.
Get
We're gonna
ready.
See who you think the Falcons are going to take in the second round. And yeah, it'll be pretty crazy.
It'll be crazy. It probably won't be right, but that's the point of mock drafts.
What have you ever gone back and looked at your success rate after the fact?
No, because
No?
I do.
Yeah.
Because I would do a lot of the mock drafts that I do. I feel like were to get people thinking about
Right.
different options. It's not really what I believe. If I did one that I was like, oh, I believe this is it. Like, I would hope that my success rate would be a little bit higher.
I think you should one year.
Maybe one
Just
year.
do
I
one
did.
where it's like, this is literally my prediction. This
Yeah.
is how I think it's going to go down.
I think that's a good idea. I will say, last year, I felt pretty confident about Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman Jr. They were both
Yep.
in my 7-round mock draft, and then I added them again when we did kind of prospects that are
I
still
was
on the
going to say, I
board.
remember having that conversation
Yeah.
after night one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of talk, because you and I both had the same guys.
Right, yeah. Really liked those two guys. So, I don't know, not toot my own horn, but I think if I went back, I could probably pick and choose. It's like, guys who are doing mock drafts all the time and they're like, see, I told you on April 3rd that this is who everybody was going to pick. And it's like, yeah, but you also had 7 other mock drafts that you did. So
yeah, that's the thing is you can't really like toot your own horn when you're shooting so many different ideas out there because it's like, all right, well, yeah, you picked 24 different guys at some point.
Throwing darts,
right? Well, I thought that there was a dart throw very recently in Field Yates' mock draft that went up, I believe, Wednesday. And it was the first time that I saw the Falcons connected to an offensive lineman.
Ooh.
The offensive tackle from Arizona State, Max Ianachor. And it just kind of got me thinking, we've heard that the Falcons really want to invest in the trenches, right? What is kind of if they go offense.
Yeah.
And let's say, for the sake of this exercise, that they kind of choose to invest in their offensive line early on in the draft. Is it more important for you to have them look at the tackle position and maybe set themselves up? Now, we know Caleb McGarry and Jake Matthews. Like, those guys are really good starters, and I still have a lot of confidence in them. But
you got to think
Caleb's
about
going into the last year of his contract, and Jake is 34, I believe. Yeah. So, they like development here as well. Is it more important for you to maybe get a tackle to develop for the future, or are you looking interior? Same kind of reasoning there, but potentially it's a good interior offensive line class, I've heard.
Yeah, I actually think that I am leaning more towards offensive tackle than interior guys. I think that you can get a good, let's just throw out a center. I think you can get a good center on day 3. I mean, Drew Dahlman was a 4th-round pick, and he ended up being a really, really good center for both the Falcons and for the Chicago Bears, and now he's retired. And I think that for that reason, I think it's more difficult to find premier offensive tackle because it's such a premium position that I think a lot of teams covet. And I would be more inclined to using a 2nd-round pick on a tackle than a guard or a center for that reason, but also for the reason that you laid out with Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry. There is a world where, and it's not too far in the future, where you have to start thinking about a time when those 2 guys are no longer on a part of your starting group. You also don't really know what's going to happen with Caleb McGarry as he's coming back from the season-ending injury that he had last year. You also don't know, like, they're installing a new kind of probably like marrying a gap style system with this wide zone system that's been their bread and butter for a few years now. So how does that change what you even need at offensive line moving forward? So it's a good thought. I actually, in terms of what the Falcons could do in the 2nd round, I don't hate the idea of building up in the trenches regardless of tackle, offensive tackle or defensive tackle, which I'm also hoping that we talk a little bit about too, because I do like this.
We're going to get there.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Don't you worry. But one more question kind of about the offensive lineman is, in doing some of this research, really kind of seems like the strengths of the group is in pass protection, more so than the run blocking.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have a preference? Like, if you're going to get somebody in the draft, knowing that no prospect is perfect, right? Like, each year, maybe in a good class, maybe there's like 3 or 4 guys that you feel really good, no holes. Would you rather have somebody who is rock solid as a pass protector or a mauler in the run game to start off with?
And it's because of who the Falcons already have that I'm saying this. I will preface that by saying this. Because you have Chris Lindstrom on this offensive line and you have him locked in until, 2028,
Yep,
I believe?
I believe so.
I think that I would rather have a dynamic pass blocker because I think that Chris Lindstrom makes up a lot in terms of run blocking and what he does as a lead blocker and what you can do with your tight ends, what you know that someone like Kevin Stefanski does with multiple tight end sets. I think that in terms of what you would need if you're the Falcons right now, I think it makes more sense to go after a guy who grades higher in pass blocking than run blocking. Like, I'm not saying that you're going to go out and get a schmuck that can't block for Bajan. But I do think that according to where the Falcons are right now, I would rather see someone come in right away and have that pass blocking kind of like gene with him, and then lean on Chris Lindstrom to anchor that, especially if you're talking about that right side.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's my thought.
Well, no, it's a good thought. It's honestly a little bit unusual because in my experience, like coming out of college, usually the pass protection is a little bit weaker than the run, just because of the different ways that they utilize passing at the college level. So, yeah, I wonder where the run of tackles is going to happen. Again,
there always is one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if a lot go in the first round, I wonder if that changes the calculus a little bit, because certainly on the defensive side of the ball, you can see the depth in this class. And that is where maybe on day 2, the defensive part of the trenches really comes into play. And that has been the most kind of popular aspect of mock drafts for the Falcons so far. So I wrote down a list of the guys who have kind of most commonly been mocked to Atlanta on the defensive line. Most recently on literally today, March 26th, edge Malachi Lawrence out of UCF was Josh Edwards' pick over at CBS Sports. But then we've had a couple of Caden McDonald call-outs, the defensive tackle from Ohio State, a couple of Caleb Banks call-outs, defensive tackle from Florida, and then a couple of Christian Miller call-outs from Georgia.
Love it.
So we saw kind of like the Falcons go from second worst in sacks in 2024 to second best in sacks in 2025. And they did that in large part because of the additions that they have made on the defensive line over the last couple of drafts, right? Brandon Dorless, second on the team with 8 sacks.
Right.
Jalen Walker, 5.5 sacks. Like the additions have been paying off. Do they still need to continue to invest their top picks on the defensive line? And if so, does the priority change at all for you from we got to go get juice in our pass rush to something else?
I think that it's not a hard argument for me to make that you do put value into your defensive front because of the defensive fronts that we've seen have success in the last 5 years. Win Super Bowls, win playoff games. If you look at kind of the investments that a team like, let's just say, Philadelphia Eagles have made in their defensive line, like there is something to be said about pumping money into that front seven. And not just money, but draft picks and high draft picks. And so I personally really like the idea of the Falcons in the second round going edge rusher or defensive tackle. I think that you are kind of looking, when you look at holistically the group that they have, I would like to see a little bit more some more guys on the defensive line in the defensive interior, because Zach Harrison is somebody who I thought was like doing some really, really good things, and then he gets hurt. You don't know what he's going to be like coming back. David Onyemata, who I think was doing a lot to free up someone like Brandon Dorless, no longer being on the roster. Granted, you've brought some different guys in, but I think like I want to see a little bit more investment into that group. And you also lose Caden Ellis. He's now back with the Saints, went in free agency. What he did, I think, on the front seven and the way he drew eyes, I think you have to make up for that in some way. And can you do you do that with an interior guy? I think you can.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think that you have to find a 1-for-1 match of Caden Ellis. I think that what Caden Ellis could do over different gaps, I just personally think that you can. It's going to take multiple people to replace that, but I think it's like multiple people across like the interior defensive line, edge rushers, linebackers, all of it. So
I want to get to a few of these specific prospects here in a second, but you kind of had a great lead into another thought. Does your answer to kind of that first question about what you should prioritize, whether that's an interior defensive lineman or another edge guy, does that change at all if you know how the Falcons plan to use Jalen Walker in year 2?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. If Jalen Walker is more of a off-ball linebacker.
If he's more the Caden
if he's
kind
more
of like heir
Ellis,
apparent.
If he's more of a Caden Ellis type of player where he is moving back, he is moving up, he is moving everywhere, kind of mimicking Caden Ellis, but also mimicking what he did at the University of Georgia, you've got to account for that off the edge.
Yeah.
Because what Jalen Walker was doing, I thought he was really coming into his own. Jeff Ulbrich uses this term a lot as like mastering something.
Yep.
He didn't want to overwhelm Jalen Walker in his rookie year by throwing too much on his plate. But I think that you saw Jalen Walker grow as the year went on, and there was that run towards the end where he was very impactful off the edge. So if I'm Jeff Ulbrich and I'm like, I've got to now account for Caden Ellis no longer being kind of in the middle of my defense, so I'm utilizing Jalen Walker's versatility more, then you kind of do need to go and get like a true edge guy to kind of make up for that. Because as Jeff Ulbrich has said, like, you're not going to have one person beat Caden Ellis. It's going to take multiple people. So that involves off the edge, in the middle, and off ball.
Yeah, so we'll see if more people mock any edge rushers to the Falcons. Malachi Lawrence seems like more of a sub-package pure pass rusher, which, again, you could maybe make that type of player work, but I think you would naturally like to see more of a run defender, can play all three downs if that is the role you have in mind for Jalen Walker. Mm-hmm. So let's talk really quickly about some of these interior defensive tackles. I mentioned three names, Caden McDonald, Caleb Banks, and Christian Miller. Mm-hmm. Of those three, are there, do any of them stand out to you as here's who I would prefer here in that spot?
I mean, I can only go off of this because I've watched him the most, but Christian Miller, because I'm a Georgia grad, I've watched Christian Miller more than I've watched the other two, so I don't feel very confident kind of saying anyone else. The thing about it is, though, is he's not going to be kind of your flashy sacks guy.
Right.
Christian Miller, it has a 90.2 run defense grade according to PFF. This is a guy who, if you're looking at where the Falcons need to improve defensively, it's in stopping the run.
Yep.
This is someone who notoriously over 3 years as a starter with the University of Georgia, or not a starter, but even role player with the University of Georgia,
that's his bread and butter.
He graded out very, very high against the run.
Shutting down the run.
Yeah, so it kind of it makes sense to me, but also I need to do more. I'll be honest, I need to do more research on the other guys. Maybe they also grade out very high.
Yeah, so Caden and Caleb Banks are, and I agree with everything you just said, they are, on the one hand, really enticing, but they both kind of have a few flaws, mm-hmm. right, to their game. So Jordan Reed of ESPN mocked Caden McDonald to the Falcons a week or two ago, and I had the chance to talk to him about it, and he said it would be a no-brainer pick for Atlanta mm-hmm. if he was there, and that he's kind of a first-round talent.
Yeah. He's
a little bit of competent in all the areas you would want a defensive tackle to be, but mm-hmm. maybe not excellent in one.
Yeah.
And then Caleb Banks, he's 6'6", 327 pounds. This dude is a big dude, very versatile. He's played anywhere from nose tackle to the 9
mm-hmm.
technique for Florida's defense. However, the key there is that only played 3 games last season because he broke his foot,
right.
and he broke his foot again at the Combine.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at a 6'6", 330-pound guy
mm-hmm.
and feet problems, that's not necessarily what you want.
Yeah, it's worrying.
Yep.
It is. And I was just looking at Caden McDonald, and I don't hate this either. I don't hate the idea of Caden McDonald. He has a 91.2 run defense grade, but he has a 62.8 pass rush grade. And what I will say about Christian versus Caden, if we're having that conversation, what I liked about Christian, and I don't think this is my Georgia bias showing, I genuinely think this, when you look at the way Christian kind of grades out across the board, it's a bit more consistent over years, whereas Caden, you can see him ticking up, and then he has this 1 year in 2025 where he really takes
mm-hmm.
a big step. Is that a sign of he's on a growing trajectory, or is that a sign of a one-hit wonder? That is always something that I think about when I'm looking at this stuff. And whereas Christian Miller was pretty consistent in his grades and his production over 3 straight years, where it was all pretty much right there. Is this a guy who is kind of where it's kind of the conversation of ceiling and floor?
Yep.
How close do you want your ceiling and floor? Because sometimes if you get it too close, then you're kind of just like right here. But if you have a guy with a high ceiling but a super low floor, you run the risk of the roller coaster of it. It's all the conversation of that scouts have.
So you and I are sharing a brain today, because as I was kind of putting together these topics to talk about, I almost put like a little halftime in here where we're getting away from the prospects specifically, and I wanted to go more theoretical with you. And it's exactly that. Where do you fall on the traits versus production argument? You know, it can range wherever you're picking in the draft, right? At day 3, maybe you feel one way.
Yeah.
First round, you feel a different way.
Yeah.
But by and large, to you, Tori, is it more important to have somebody with surefire NFL caliber traits who maybe doesn't have the production, you haven't seen it all come together for an extended period of time? Or do you need to see, hey, a minimum like a couple of years of college production before I even really start taking you seriously? Because I just have seen players with incredible traits before flame out too often, too frequently. Like, where do you fall on that kind of hypothetical?
I will say it definitely depends on where I'm picking. But I do think that for me, and I'll use this analogy because I'm in the process of looking at like townhomes and apartments and all kinds of stuff. But
That's where I thought you were
I'm
going.
on Zillow all the time. And I'm looking at Zillow and I'm looking at these photos and I'm looking at these like tours and I'm reading about these places. But I'm not going to put a down payment on anything until I go and stand on the floor myself, until I go and look at it myself. And to me, it's like, I need to know that where my money is going is solid. And so I need kind of that assurance of production of like, hey, has this house been produced in a way that's going to be sustainable for my lifestyle? Like, is there a window that's going to fall over? Like, is there a window that's going to break? How's the heating and air unit? You know, there are certain things, and I don't know if this analogy is making any sense as I'm saying it, but I think that like I'm saying all this to say, like, you have to have a proven track record for me to really buy in. So if I'm looking at a house and I'm like, oh, well, the windows look great, but if I go there and the windows are like a piece of, like, not to cuss on the podcast, then I'm like, okay, this is misleading. So I think sometimes traits can be misleading. I think that can be really great. I think that they can be building blocks. But I think when I'm thinking of a prospect, I'm like, I need to know that they can do kind of some of the fundamental things that I need them to do. I need them to have a track record that I can feel confident in putting my money where my mouth is.
So it's almost like, you know, you watch the combine, you see a guy run, you know, whatever, he jumps however high, all that stuff. That's like the square footage listing and the number of baths and stuff on the Zillow.
Yeah.
But then you get there and you're like, yeah, all right, this might be a lot of square footage, but the way it's laid out is insane.
Yeah.
I can't make use of all this square footage. Or, yeah, you said 5 baths, but there's really like
It's really not
2
bad.
half baths in here, and then the other one is like next to the garage, and we're never going to use that.
Yeah.
So like in reality, you need to see that the traits being promised are actually functionally applicable and can result in something a little more sustainable.
Yeah, I don't care about the combine. I don't care how you really test out everybody. If you got an invite to the combine, you're an athletic dude. Like, I'm not super worried about that part of it. If I'm thinking about drafting you, it means that you're an athletic dude. I don't really need you to like go and confirm that for me. I need to watch you play. I need to see you on a game day. I need to see you when I'm standing there talking to you and I'm like, I need you to do this, 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 and this. Go out and do it or draw it on the board for me. Like, that's what I care about. Like, I don't care if you can jump an extra half inch over somebody else. Like, that's neither here nor there. Again, all of these guys are athletic. All of these guys are proven, like, probably top 10% in the world athlete-wise. That part of it, great. Now go show me what you do with those things. I don't care that you have them. I care what you do with them.
That's fair. All right, let's talk about somebody who is very athletic, who you and I both know fairly well, and that's Zachariah Branch, who has been kind of a popular mock to the Falcons for understandable reasons. Eddie Brown of the San Diego Union Tribune said Branch is a twitchy, explosive, space-destroying playmaker. That is quite the description, who wins with speed, suddenness, and return game electricity. And First, I'll just kind of like right off the top, like we watched Zachariah Branch.
Yeah.
Can you envision him sliding right into this Atlanta offense? And if so, what does he bring to the table that maybe they're lacking right now?
Yeah, I think so. But my question about Zachariah Branch is, and I'm not saying that I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. I'm not saying that they're going to put Zachariah Branch in the slot and they're going to do something.
So this is the question I wanted to start with.
Yeah.
Which is like, from the outside looking in, I understand the media
Yes.
looking at Atlanta's receiving group and just kind of being like, well, what
They
they
don't
need
have a small-
with Drake London
yeah.
and Kyle Pitts and these big body, they need
Yeah.
somebody in the slot.
Right.
And I think that's fundamentally misunderstanding
What they do with Drake
what
London.
they do with Drake London.
I
Yeah.
completely agree with that because some of Drake's
I
most
should have just gone right for that first question.
But some of the best things that Drake does, some of the best mismatches you get with Drake London is having him moving out of the slot, like having him run out of the slot. So for me, it's like, yes, you can do some really cool things with Zachariah Branch and Drake London on the field at the same time. I 100% get that. But Zachariah Branch, the reason you're getting him is because of that production from the slot. He has 628 of his total 811 yards from scrimmage from the slot.
Mm-hmm.
In 2025.
He's a slot machine.
Yeah.
They've been saying it.
Exactly. And so I think that, like, I understand why people do this because, one, he's a Georgia guy. They're like, like Georgia Falcons. And then, two, they're like, the Falcons need some, like, speed and some twitchiness and everything. And I'm just kind of sitting here
Which
like.
I agree with.
Which, yeah, I do agree with that. But I think, you went out and you got Jahan Dodson. I think he adds a little bit of, like, take the top off of the defense a little bit for some of those deep balls. But I kind of like go back and forth on, do you need a true slot receiver or do you need someone who can kind of do a little bit of everything? I think if I'm looking at a receiver, if I'm looking at a guy in the second round or third round, I want to kind of be able to move him around because I don't want there to be like a weird thing where it's like, but Zachariah Branch is a slot guy. Why are you not in the slot? It's because Drake London has this really awesome matchup and I'm not going to like, I don't know. I think you run into some of those questions.
No, I got you. You want a mobile home.
Yeah.
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 To keep it going with Zillow.
Yeah, exactly.
Today's podcast brought to you. No, I don't know if we can even do that. I don't want to run afoul of anybody.
I know.
All right. So then let me toss to you another wide receiver who I've seen mocked to Atlanta, and that is Jeremy Bernard.
Yes,
at
I've seen that a
Alabama.
couple
And
times.
he's really interesting because he played at Washington in 2023 with Michael Penix Jr. He was kind of the fourth receiver in that incredible, like Roma Dunze, all of those guys.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Alabama. So there's familiarity in the offense that Michael Penix also has familiarity in, but his strengths are route running, ability to operate in the middle of the field, intermediate routes, versatility, can play in the slot, can play out wide, can play kind of that middle distance split, like all of those things. The downside doesn't have the elite athletic traits, right? The speed, the explosiveness, the kind of jumping ability, catch point, all of that stuff. I would argue, though, the Falcons have their option. Like Drake is an amazing catch ball guy. Kyle is a unicorn with that mismatch kind of speed and explosiveness, what have you. Jahan Dotson, another speedy receiver that they've just added. So is Jeremy Bernard more appealing to you for kind of the package he presents?
Yeah, I think so, especially if you are... Yeah, just looking at kind of I don't think you can ever look at the draft in a vacuum. You have to look at it
Not like space.
Not like space, definitely not. You have to look at it in the holistic approach of like how you're building an offense. And for me, Jeremy Bernard, I think makes a little bit more sense because of his versatility. Again, I'm not saying that you can't do that with Zachariah Branch, and I'm not saying that if the Falcons get Zachariah Branch at 48 that it's like, oh, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying I would be excited either
Jared,
way.
please clip that clip.
No, don't, Jared. But I will say that there is an upside with Jeremy having that previous experience with Michael Penix. I think that there is an upside to... he only has like one drop in the last year. He's a very reliable...
high IQ guy.
Yeah.
From what we read. Haven't met him.
And again, and again, just like the amount of he's taken slot snaps, he's taken snaps out wide, he's been a motion guy, like he's done every piece of what you would need. Again, not saying that Zachariah Branch has not, but I think that like, and also just kind of body style, body type. He's 6'1", 204. Like, I like this a little bit more for all the reasons that we just said.
Yeah. All right. Last one here, and we can probably be a little bit quicker on it because I feel like it's you and I are of the same opinion with this, but Josh Kendall of The Athletic had in one of his mocks Atlanta trading back to pick 53 to select Kristen Miller. So we know that Ian Cunningham has said, I love draft picks, right? I was frankly a little bit surprised when a trade happened and
it
they
was
didn't accrue any
I agree,
picks.
yeah.
But you could say they kind of did in getting another player. So how likely, though, do you think a situation like this comes to fruition? Maybe not in the second round, but at some point in the draft, if you had to put any type of like very confident to like not at all, like maybe it's one of those like 5 like agree, strongly disagree, whatever, that Atlanta will trade and accrue more picks.
I absolutely think that they will, and I
strongly agree.
Strongly agree. I really personally, just from hearing Ian Cunningham's conviction about it, if he said it one time, he said it every single time he's had a mic in front of him, how much he wants draft capital, how many times he wants to have an at bat, like how many swings he wants at the plate, like all of those analogies. He wants more than 5. He told the scouts in the very first meeting he ever had with them, this is the last year you're going to have 5 picks. Like, I find it hard to believe that they're going to go into draft weekend with 5 picks and still come out with 5 picks. I think that, and again, I don't know if that, I don't really, in my brain, see it like, oh, well, in the second round, they're going to do something.
That was going to be kind of my next question is like, do you have in mind an area where you think that will happen? But like, do it wherever, you know, like wherever you think the value is best.
Exactly. I mean, I would love to accrue more of like accrue more in early day 3.
Okay.
Personally.
So like pick up a couple of 4s.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I would be okay with that. And then like doing something, you know, maybe in the back end of the 3rd round. But again, like what do you have to give up? Do you have teams that are willing to play ball with you a little bit? Like there are a lot of factors that go into that. And so I'm not like going to sit here and say that I feel 100% convicted that Ian Cunningham's going to walk out of there with 8 picks. Like, I don't want to say that, but I do think because of everything he said and the conviction of which he has, that could be a reality.
Yeah. All right, last one for you. We've heard already kind of the buzz building for the 2027 draft. So is it critical to you that if they do pick up extra picks that it is for this year's draft?
No.
Or could you see them making a move and getting some for next year and that's kind of all they get?
I honestly think if you can come out and you the way that I'm like, okay, you go in with 5 picks, you come out with 5 picks. If you go in with 5 picks and however many picks you have next year, and come out with 5 picks plus 2 more next year, I'm in like the 3rd or the 4th round. I'm cool with that too. Like I absolutely think that could be something, because I think a lot of times, and I even said this on the last podcast, was there are a lot of people who are saying like that a lot of teams are looking to do that. A lot of teams are looking to get into that, more into that 2027 groupings. And so I would be curious to see what comes out of those conversations and how much the Falcons are playing into 2027. So we'll see. I don't hate that. I don't hate that idea. I really think that it's absolutely in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, and based on a few reports, it looks like, at least from a comp pick
standpoint,
Atlanta
couple
is sitting prettier than they have been the last few years, which is awesome, and that's smart to kind of keep an eye on the future in that way. But yeah, please, everybody, y'all keep an eye on the future of this feed, because we're going to have a lot more stuff coming every single Friday. We're back the Friday 5. Tori, this was great.
I know.
I feel like we really hit on a lot of the key topics that have just been buzzing around my head over the last little bit. So I appreciate you doing this exercise with me. But we are not done. We now have a couple of conversations, one of which involves both of us, one of which just involves Tori. But Sydney Brown, Brian Robinson coming right up, and let's get to them right now. All right, we are sitting down now with Sydney Brown, the Falcons' newest safety.
Yeah.
Sydney, big weekend for you, but welcome to Atlanta.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about getting the call. I know with trades and everything, it can kind of be a bit of a whirlwind. But where were you when you got the call, and kind of what were your initial thoughts about joining up here in Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it at all. I was just driving back to my apartment from the mall, and I got a text, and it said, "This is Ian with the Atlanta Falcons." I said, "Okay, this is a prank." You know?
Like, sure, okay.
you're messing with me, and then ultimately called me right after and said, "Hey, you ready to do this?" And I was like, "You're kidding me!" And I was so excited, I was pumped. Like I was ready to go right on the moment. So it's a great opportunity, and I'm just excited to be here.
Yeah, what excites you about kind of joining this group? Obviously, they made such a huge jump last year in terms of sacks, but they have a great kind of secondary veteran group in place. Like, what excites you about joining the Falcons defense?
I think I'm excited to be a part of a great group of guys, a great team, new people in the building, and ultimately just help the team win in every way I can. So, yeah, get to know everybody first, and kind of build a role from there.
Cool. I was doing a lot of research on you this morning, and you have such a inspiring story, just how you got to where you are, and your brother, who for our listeners is Chase.
Yeah.
He is a running back for the Bengals.
You got it.
And he is your twin brother.
He is.
And my boyfriend's a twin, and I feel like there is a different level of connectivity when you have a twin. Can you kind of tell us some stories of y'all's childhood and kind of doing? I read where I was like, y'all did everything together.
Yeah.
Like everything. Y'all are inseparable. What kind of are some of the best stories from your childhood?
You know what? I mean, having him has been it's been an absolute blessing. I can't really imagine life without him. And just the journey, as a twin, you have somebody that's exactly like you in every single way. So if he does something, you can do it. Mm-hmm. And I think that just kind of motivated us, and that's been our relationship ever since we were young. If Chase does something, I'm going to try and do it better. And if I do it better, then Chase is going to do it better. And then it's just like this and this and everybody. So I think just that the competitive relationship between the two of us has kind of driven and helped us excel in the game of ball. But, craziest stories as kids is it's just, we grew up fighting. Like, we grew up doing some martial arts, a little bit of boxing and stuff. So
that's awesome.
You can just imagine what the household looked like.
I'm sure.
With boxing gloves, and when we come back from like a little MMA practice, it's some fun stuff, a little rowdy.
Did y'all compete in just like everything that you did? Did you find a way to make a game out of kind of like anything and everything?
I think everything was a competition.
Yeah.
It was to, who was going to do better in school, who was going to tie their shoes first, who's going to get to the fridge first, who's going to finish their meal first. And I think it's just been amazing. Like, even to this day, we train together in the off season. Obviously, he separates and does a little more offensive stuff. I'll do my defensive stuff. But, even just during our running workouts and everything, like, we're always together. We're always competing in those. We always can kind of, clashing ideas, and it's pretty damn cool to have someone like that, especially at this level. And I think it just continues to drive us and motivate each one of us to keep taking those steps and continue to drive.
I read a story on, I believe it was SI, did a whole story on you and your brother and y'all's journey to where y'all are right now. And one of the stories was y'all are both at Illinois, and very rarely were y'all on the field at the same time, like really going against each other in live settings. Because again, he's a running back, you're a safety.
Yeah.
They kind of kept you separately. But there was like one moment where y'all got after it on the field.
You found that, huh?
I found that, and that was it. You did they?
Yeah, I mean,
you to get off of the field, or was it him, or did y'all both go off? Because I was a little confused.
It was. I can't believe you found that.
I did, yeah.
No, so we. It was just like it was actually our first year with Brett Bielema. It was a spring ball practice.
Yeah.
Kind of everybody's feeling each other out. The coaches are still trying to figure out Chase. The defensive coaches are trying to figure out me. And man, I think the one thing they didn't know is how competitive my brother and I were at the moment.
Right.
And it was every single rep that day. It was just like boom, clash. We get into it. And then finally, I mean, Chase kind of like bopped me in my mask, and he kind of hit it, and I just lost my mind.
You just saw
Started
red.
throwing punches and stuff, and I ultimately got kicked out of practice. I'm like, you're stealing my reps. I'm losing my mind, but it's just funny reflecting on that stuff. But I mean, that just kind of.
But it's the competitive nature.
That's like the boxing background. They're like, go to your corner, go to your corner.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's incredible. I love that.
It was pretty dope. Yeah.
So what was it like playing with your brother? I know obviously y'all played together in Canada and then went down to Florida and stayed with host families and really kind of like grew up together in football at the same time. And then you go, I think he went to Western Michigan?
He did.
And then transferred to Illinois with you. What do you remember about that time of him kind of coming to be a part of your team and your group, and what did it mean to you to share those like college moments with him?
It was college was an interesting journey. I mean, being two Canadian kids, we knew nothing about, American colleges.
Yeah.
So, my brother had every offer you could imagine. And he ended up going to Western Michigan because he wanted to be a pilot. But he also thought Western Michigan was like the same prestige as like Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU, Illinois. And
he's like, they have really good aviation.
And then, I'm gonna be a great pilot one day. No. And ultimately that all didn't go through, and he ended up coming to Illinois, which was like my dream. Yeah. And that was our dream ever since we were in high school. So, I mean, I think again, like having him at the University of Illinois was just amazing. Like I said, I mean, it's been a blessing having someone just like me, and to see him succeed early on, and then I kind of drove my way up and made stuff happen, and both of us being draft picks and stuff, and both of us being able to experience college together. I think that's something that we'll cherish forever.
I think that's an incredible mindset too to have early on. Is that kind of like competitiveness, maybe without jealousy, maybe without kind of like coveting what the other. It's like, no, it motivates me.
I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day, and I'm like, we are jealous of one another, but it's not like a bad.
It's not a destructive.
It's not destructive. It's just like, man, I want what he has. I know he can do it. Yeah. So I know I can do it. So let me get my shit together and let me let me go ahead and make it happen. Let me go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? So
like manifest.
It's real motivating. It's real motivating, and it goes both ways. And it's just like it's a great relationship to share with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So just you specifically, your time at Illinois, it was actually a very fascinating time for that specific DB group. Y'all were pretty dang good, and I, including yourself, I believe over the course of like 2 or 3 years, y'all had 5 guys from the same room get drafted, one of which, like, Devin Witherspoon, just doesn't, like, I wrote them down, Nate Hobbs, like, yourself, like, Kirby Joseph, like, that group was a very impressive core group of DBs. How did you kind of, like, make your way in through that group and kind of stand alone for yourself?
Yeah, I think, what's crazy is that I don't think we realized how good we were at the time. Yeah. Brett Bielema came in and he built an amazing staff around us, and Ryan Walters really transformed, the careers of all of us. Kirby was a scout team wide receiver before he went to safety, and now he's making like 20 million a year playing. Yeah, and I mean,
incredible. Yeah.
And obviously Devin Witherspoon doing what he does, but I think Brett Bielema just surrounded us with the right people, and Ryan Walters brought in a great staff with like Ahan and like Grant O'Brien, everybody in that room that really helped shape and form that defense. But just for myself, I just try to be the best version of me, and we did some fun stuff disguise wise, and I was able to move around and really play close to the line of scrimmage and make plays, and I loved it. They loved it, and I think we all just fed off each other's energy. Yeah, and like I said, like we didn't know how good we were, but we were having fun doing it. Yeah. And then we looked back at the end of the year, and we were like a top 3 defense in the nation, and off of being like one of the worst defenses the year before. And I mean, it's just amazing. It's amazing how we all like help each other escalate the game. And just how fast, we went from the bottom to the top. And it's just cool now seeing everybody in the league doing their thing, and seeing Kirby get paid, probably Spoon get paid next year, Jartavius Martin, Tony Adams, all these guys, Nate Hobbs, and I mean it's a really cool group to be a part of.
Yeah, it's crazy to look back on. All right, we've got we're kind of bumping up against the clock, so we have a few fun ones for you, and then we're gonna get you out of here. But if you had the chance to go to outer space, would you?
Yeah.
He said,
you said no.
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm going.
I just saw Project Hail Mary in IMAX, which is the new Ryan Gosling space movie. I cried for an hour and a half.
You like Interstellar?
It's kind of like Interstellar, yeah.
Okay.
It's
Ever since I saw Interstellar, I've been like...
You're all in on space?
I'm like, man, I need something with the shapeshift time or something.
I was going to say, even though you get trapped on a planet where like a minute is 7 years.
No,
true, yeah.
It's a weird conspiracy.
All right, what is the last show you watched and loved?
Oh my God. The Day of the Jackal. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Sick. Super sick. You
heard
have the
good
time to
things
watch
about
it. Really, really good.
Okay,
Really,
I need
really
a new
good.
show, so that's a good
Note it.
Okay.
It's suck.
Day of the Jackal or the Jackal?
Just call it the Jackal.
The
Just say the
Jackal, okay.
Jackal. You'll find it.
Okay,
Amazon
got it.
Prime.
All right, what is the most recent thing that you taught yourself?
Wow. Damn. How to snowboard a little bit better.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah,
That's
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a cool little journey. Went to Banff and did a little.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Banff.
Yeah, I was like, where at?
Oh my gosh, I was in Banff last summer.
Were you really?
Yeah, in June.
Are you a biker? Do you bike or what's
No,
your
we were
hike?
just hiking. Yeah, went with my family. It was the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life.
It's an amazing. I mean, the scenery is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. I mean,
Yeah.
have you been?
I have
guy?
also
You're
been
a
to
Banff
Banff.
guy. All right.
That's so weird
That's-
that like
that's
we have
three
three people
people.
in
Yeah.
a podcast studio in Atlanta, Georgia, who are like, yeah, no, Banff is great. Have you been to this restaurant? Oh, it was so good. Recommend it next time you go.
Did you stay in the city?
Yeah.
You stayed in the
Yeah.
Okay.
We were we were like an hour outside of, or not an hour outside. We were like an hour past Calgary and like 30 minutes past Banff.
Lake Louise.
Close. Yeah, very
Okay,
close.
in
Yeah,
there?
which
All
Lake
right.
Louise was amazing. We did a horseback ride around Lake
did?
Louise, and it
Look at
was
you.
it was amazing.
Canadian girl.
Yeah.
I was only in 6th grade, so my memory's a little fuzzy on it, but I
Does that
remember we
count?
did
That
some
counts.
river
That
rafting.
counts.
It was
That
Ooh,
counts.
river rafting. That's cool.
There you go.
It was really nice.
That is neat.
Well, Sydney, this was so much fun. I mean, you
Pleasure,
seem like
guys.
a
Thank
really
you.
interesting dude. Can't wait to learn more about
Thanks,
you.
guys. I appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I am so excited to welcome Brian Robinson Jr. into the podcast studio. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming and sitting down with me.
No problem.
So you're here in Atlanta. It's a fresh start for you, a new look for you. What excites you about joining this organization right now in 2026?
Well, just coming into a fresh building, a lot of new faces, fresh faces. A lot of guys, coming in with a purpose, chips on their shoulders, and I just felt like it's a perfect fit for me to come in and for all the things that I'm looking forward to doing. Perfect opportunity for me.
I'm excited to get you and Bajan in the same room. Do you have a relationship with Bajan? I'm sure. I mean, the running back network. It's a small network.
Yeah, it's very
and
small. So we've ran into each other.
Okay.
We've never just connected like that, but it's perfect time to do it.
He's a cool dude. Honestly, one of the main things that I'm seeing on Twitter is everyone talking about fantasy football. Yeah. And because of your B. Robinson, he's B. Robinson. It's just like meet the Robinsons of the Falcons backfield.
Yeah, they usually the fantasy people they always make mistakes with that anyway. They always kind of screw those up in anyway. So it's not going to be any different than what they've already been doing.
So what excites you about, working with Bajan? I know you come from the San Francisco 49ers with Christian McCaffrey, and they're two individuals that are pretty close, and Bajan talks all the time about, having someone like Christian to look up to and the way that he plays the game. Are there any similarities that you see kind of in their game and their usage?
Definitely. They're both two extremely explosive guys, they're very good at what they do best, and I can see why Bijan looks up to Christian as a player and as a professional, and I can also see why they train together, and those guys are very explosive with their feet and speed, and I can see why those guys are connected.
How do you feel like your skill set meshes well with kind of both of those guys, but mainly Bajan, now you're here, to kind of create this like 1-2 punch a little bit in the backfield?
Right. Well, obviously, I like to use my size and my presence and to try to, well, not to try, to definitely be physical.
Yeah.
I'm more of a physical style player. I might not be as fast in certain areas, but I can move pretty good for my size, and I like to punish people.
There you go.
So I'm not really sure how much physicality Bijan likes to include in his game, but I'm one that I'm extremely physical with my game.
Lean into it. Yeah. So I want to go back in time a little bit. You obviously went to the University of Alabama. I'm a Georgia girl. We talked before this. It's okay. We're friends now. We've met. It's all good. But I do want to ask, you got your start in a very crowded running back room. That was a very talented running back room in Alabama. I believe Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris was at one point, and yourself were all in the same room. Thinking back to that time, what did you take from that experience, and how did you carve your way through it?
Like, even before I even stepped foot into that room, I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. I knew it was going to be one of the hardest competitions of my life. And it ended up being one of the best experiences of my life because I was able to not only compete with those guys, but have a real connection with those guys. And those guys are like my brothers, and just really forming that type of bond, and we make each other better every single day. So yes, like, it's a competition at the end of the day, but we all complement each other, and we all show up to work every day to help each other like get better. And that was a very crowded, talented room.
Yeah.
So obviously, even just being able to compete in a room like that, it just allows you to learn some things about yourself as far as competition, but just showing up to work every day, looking myself in the mirror, competing with myself, and knowing that I'm supposed to be in the room, this talented, it just helped me, gain the confidence I needed to continue to just push.
Is there anything that you kind of learned during that time of your life that you still kind of carry with you even today as you've made your way and made your career in the NFL?
Yeah, like, sometimes you have to be patient. Even if you are ready to play right now, even if you are good enough to play right now, it may not just be your time. Your time may not just be right now, and you have to trust and keep faith in your process of where you want to go and where you want to end up. And as long as you stay committed to that, everything will work itself out.
So you're originally from Alabama, yes? Like you grew up in the state of Alabama, born and raised in Alabama, went to the University of Alabama. Who did you kind of look up to as a kid watching the game? Who were kind of some of your influences very early on?
So obviously by the time I started watching Alabama football, they was winning games, winning championships. So they had a lot of faces and names, like Tyrone Prothro at the time came through, and then the Julio Jones and the Trent, Mark Ingram and Trent Richardson, and even just Saban. Saban was enough for us to look up to at the time because of just his influence and how much he brought to my home city. And just everything around Coach Saban, it was enough influence for us. He made the impact of a lifetime.
Do you have a favorite Nick Saban story that you can tell on the podcast? I'm sure there are some that you can't share, but is there any story that you think back to your time playing for Nick Saban that you're like, that is him to a T?
Yeah, so just one day he was just fussing at me because I had an attitude during like the beginning parts of practice.
Yeah.
And he just came to me and just looked me in my
Feeling some type of way.
Yeah, I'm just feeling some type of way today, but nobody pissed in my cereal. Then like he'll like joke or make a joke or something like that or fuss at you, but he'll come back and like joke and let you know that like he care about you later. So.
Yeah, I love him. Have you watched him on College Game Day?
I have.
What do you think about his? Is he the same on camera as he was in meeting rooms, or does he have a little? Has he moved into a media role?
He can open up a little bit more in meeting rooms because it's behind closed doors and the camera is not in his face. So when he's obviously on game day, he got all these cameras surrounded by him. So he's trying to protect his brand, his professionalism. So he's a little bit more calm and chill. But you get him in a room and you close the door and you let him be himself. He can get a little rowdy.
I love it. I love that. So great. So for you, when you kind of are entering into this time of your career, what are you hoping to get out of the next year? What are your goals for the next year just in yourself?
Honestly, I'm ready to just show people like what I can really do. Like with being able to play consistently and with the volume that I'm more familiar with getting and playing, just to show people how I can consistently play at a high level. And I just felt like there was an opportunity I kind of missed out on last year with the limited opportunities that I got. So, just a new situation and a situation that provides me more opportunity to show who I am on a more consistent basis.
I love it. So when you are kind of like, what's your routine like? What's your off season look like? How do you stay up to date with all of kind of making sure your body's right, making sure you're ready to go for training camp?
Well, you definitely you don't have much time to take away from the game once the season ends. Like you probably have like not even a week or so to kind of like relax and take your mind and body away from the game, and then you have to hit the ground running. So I'm back on schedule, just like in season, lifting 2-3 times a week, on the field 3 times a week, and just also balancing that out and taking care of my body and not trying to be too excessive in the off seasons, because you're not on campus, so you can't get the attention you need all the time. So just taking care of your body, just staying active, staying fit, and just keeping your mind, body, and soul into it.
Love it. So I have a few kind of like fun off the wall questions for you, and then we'll get you out of here because I know you have a busy day. What is something that you're terrible at but wish you could do well? That's question number 1. Mine is, do you want me to give you mine? Mine's dancing. I have horrible rhythm.
So I wouldn't say that I'm a terrible dancer. I feel like I can have rhythm when the time comes.
Right, yeah.
But I'm not. I wish I was better at like the TikTok.
Like TikTok dances or like editing TikToks?
Yeah, like just being more personable, like when it comes to TikToking and
like social media
stuff.
Yeah, I did. I just recently went and did like this yoga in the park thing that my friend. It was like a women in sports. It was like a conversation, and we're doing yoga as we're having the conversation. And she like cut it all together for Instagram, and the whole time I'm like, I feel like an idiot.
Well, to say the least, I wish I was better at social media.
Yeah,
and I'm terrible at it.
I completely understand that. I'm like, here's 7 pictures. Hopefully this works for everybody. Okay, let me find another good one. Do you have a personal mantra? Something that is kind of like your code that you live by?
I always used to tell myself, just when I was younger, like, yo, just stay down until you come up. And what that means to me is like, like nobody knows the tunnel you can be in right now when you're staying down, and you just the work that nobody ever sees, hours and time and sacrifice that you're putting into your craft and into your body and into your soul, and nobody never sees it. But that's your part of staying down, and the come up is when they finally get to see it. You get to finally put it on display, and you finally make a play, and they want to know how you made that play because of the numerous hours that I was putting into myself, into my craft that nobody's seen, and I was just staying down, and me being able to put it on display is the come up.
Oh, I love that. That's a really good one. And you said you've had that for a while. Always lived that way?
That's how I live my life.
I love that. That's so great. Okay, last one. How long do you think you could survive in a remote forest with no survival tools?
I think I make it out alive.
You think so?
I think I make it out alive.
There you go. So you could like build a fire, do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I feel like I can. I've spent enough time just outside, like in my life, to just know how to operate. Know
what berries to eat, what not to eat. You could do it.
Just move naturally through the forest. I feel like I can. Like I know how to.
You can figure it out.
I can figure it out.
There you go. Okay, great. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I know you've got a busy day, but super excited to have you in Atlanta and excited to see what you're going to do with us.
Thank you. Excited to be here. Excited to show you what I can do.